What's in your mind for you and for I'm trying to decide from the look in your eyes, yeah. I mean besides, but your feelings inside you, I'm messing up my mind and my spirit, babe.
Yo, this is Inside the RV, episode 49. Shout out to all of our insiders, our dedicated listener base. We appreciate it, everybody tuning back in. This is Inside the RV, a podcast about entrepreneurship, work ethic, self-development, and becoming the best version of yourself, people. You know the drill by now. You're joined by your two lovely, handsome, modest, mildly handsome, maybe gracious hosts. I'm one of them. My name's Jacob Moore.
I'm the other one. I'm Ryan Ramirez.
Jacob Moore and Ryan Ramirez. Get used to hearing those names, people. This is Inside the RV. We are your hosts. I am an artist manager. Ryan is a music artist, and together we are chronicling the ups and downs, successes and failures that we experience in the music industry. And we get a bunch of entrepreneurs, people in the music industry, just great people on here to help us share valuable information, insight, knowledge related to a variety of industries. Today, specifically the music industry, and more recently than ever, the music industry. And we're really stoked to, talk about a lot of that good stuff. Today, we've got a man on who is just, we haven't gotten to know each other a ton, but we spoke a little bit at an event that he put on. And I was blown away because it's one thing to do stuff on the internet and to do stuff as a music artist and put things on Spotify. But I remember when I was working at Warner Music Group, one of the directors who sat across from me, I was talking to him. I was like, hey, man, how do I, XYZ, whatever. He went, Jacob, you need to impact the culture. How can you guys put on shows? How can you bring people together? And I think that the guy that we've got on today has just done that immensely well. He's a record producer, engineer, entrepreneur, the founder of Hangout Records based in Norwalk, which is a recording and engineering music studio. You guys can tap in on that on the Instagram when we give it away in a little bit. A Norwalk Artesia local, which is right down the street from us. We're really stoked to have this guy on. And also a music artist, very talented guy, amazing producer. Everybody, please welcome Sabi.
What's up? What's up?
Thank you guys. I'm so excited to be on your show. And
yeah,
man, you talk about having to make that impact and making it about community, and that's really where it's at, because that is music.
Yeah.
Even in the earliest times, music was always about bringing people together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the 21st century, like you said, with the internet and social media, I think people tend to lose focus on that. And it becomes more about, the aesthetic, or it becomes more about, branding, marketing. But I think all that stuff is secondary to your actual mission as a brand and as a person in general. What is your mission? What are you put on this earth to do? And I always viewed myself as someone that, it's just meant to bring people together through music, really.
That's what's up.
Because I've been involved, I've been a performer, really, since I was a little kid. I started off taking piano lessons when I was 5 years old. And as soon as I could play something halfway decent, my dad was like, all right, you're in the band. And so, I was playing with a bunch of old farts at like bars and restaurants and open mic nights, and just,
That's a good way to start, though, for real, with the experience, like people who are experienced like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's definitely, it had its ups and downs.
For sure.
But I feel like I came out of that fire like better tempered. Like it gave me that skill set of like, okay, you're in front of a crowd, what of it? Like it's a job like any other job. You're here to entertain these people and play what you need to play. And really, what it taught me was it's not about you at all. It's about all these people that came here. Sometimes not even specifically to see you, but just to have something to do on a weekend or on a Friday night, or sometimes on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's about the community that develops around that.
Yeah.
That crucial human need that we have to go out and just have a good time.
For sure. For sure.
So where was that happening? So you're 5 years old, you just started playing piano, you're kind of getting thrown into all this stuff now. Is that in Norwalk?
Yeah, actually around the time. So I should say that was starting around when I was maybe 7, 8 years old.
Okay, so you started playing at 5.
Yeah.
Okay, played for a couple years, and then they turned you into a road dog, huh?
Yeah, they're like, oh, you know chords now.
Yeah.
You know more than Old MacDonald. Okay.
Yeah.
So that all really had took place around the time that I was 8, and around that same time there was a local business that opened up. It was called Musikahan, which is it was catering toward the Filipino community, right? And so that was the pocket I existed in. Like my dad, he plays guitar, and we're Filipino.
Sure. Are you full Filipino?
Yeah.
Okay. You speak Tagalog?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, I understand, but it's different to speak.
I get you.
Like I know a little bit. Like I know the basic.
Mahal kita and shit.
Yeah, basics, little basics. Well, mahal kita to you too. You guys are great.
Hey,
this guy's acting like he's from the Philippines.
I know.
Yeah. But around that same time, this restaurant had opened, and it was really a venue. It was like a half karaoke bar, a half restaurant, a half like music performing, like it has a stage, right? Like a venue.
What was it called?
Musikahan.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
It's not there anymore. That's actually where the Taco Nazo is at now.
Okay.
In Bellflower?
In Bellflower.
Oh, dude, I go there all the time, bro.
Yeah.
So that's where it was.
That's where it was.
Oh, wow.
So I have all these childhood memories at that place, and it's I spent like a lot of my music memories actually in Bellflower.
Yeah.
Because that's where I got my first music lessons.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first venue I ever played at, and yeah, my dad was there for a number of years, and yeah, like it started from there, and then it's just like you get involved in this scene, and then that scene you can see like it's all the same people. The faces are still there, but then the venue changes. Like when one venue goes out, they all migrate to another venue.
Yeah. So from that to now, can you explain to everybody what you do now, and the titles you hold, what you do with Hangout Records, what you do as an engineer and a producer, and we can maybe kind of like reverse engineer it and go like back from there and kind of see what you developed in terms of like your work ethic, your mindset to get you to where you are now. So what do you do right now?
So what I do right now, I perform, I do keys.
Okay.
But you know what? First and foremost, I'm a student. That's what I do now. I'm a student at Cypress College, and I have been for a number of years. And that's first. That's a priority to me, is being a student and learning from my mentors at Cypress College. And that's what really kind of changed my life around. Was really through that experience. Before that, I wasn't even doing anything. Like I kind of was just going in circles with my life, really.
Wow.
Because I was like, well, I know how to do music. I know how to, but it's like, it's not what I wanted. Or so that's what I was telling myself. Like, this is what was forced upon me. But then you realize that, like, it's what you're good at. And what you're good at doesn't necessarily need to define you, but it's something that you can offer to the world. And like, why should I feel bad about that?
Got you.
And that's what kind of helped precipitate that change, was that shift in attitude. Versus like from this was forced upon me, almost like kind of like, always with fathers and sons, right? Like, you want me to go into the plumbing business? I hate plumbing. Yeah. But you spent your whole childhood like learning how to plumb. Gotcha. So then you get older and you're like, well, goddamn, I should probably plumb.
Yeah.
Like I can't make it in any other field. Like this is all I know. This is all that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like music's a cool one though. Like if that was you and your dad, like music was the thing, like that's like way cooler than like the plumbing thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, I guess in 2021 it doesn't pay as much from what I hear.
If you look at it that way, I guess so. Yeah.
Plumbers, man, plumbers and all those people in those trades, they're making a lot of money right now.
Totally, for sure.
If I were
maybe that is cooler, actually.
Yeah, I would remind like, and then I could fix problems around the house.
Gotcha. The problem solver.
I'm just kidding, but no. So what I do now, I produce, I engineer, and I've recently moved into scoring music now.
Wow.
So actually reading and writing the notes. And I'm just generally I try to be as helpful as I can to the people around me with the skills that I have.
Yeah.
That's cool. What for keys, what genre do you like normally play?
Ooh, man, I love jazz music.
Okay.
Nice. Like just something about improvising and like, man.
You like the gospel type chords and stuff like that too, or like more just on the jazz side?
Those gospel chords are great, but that's something that I'm trying to like learn. Yeah.
Got you.
The jazz side though, like I really love like Herbie Hancock.
Okay.
Quincy Jones.
Yeah, legend.
I was in a history of jazz class when I was in college.
Mm.
And one album that I got put onto that I actually really liked was by David Brubeck, I think, called Time Out, where
Mm.
every song is in an odd time signature. I think that's like the thing on the whole record. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called Time Out by the David Brubeck Quartet or something.
Mm.
I listen to this day, bro. It's really
Dang.
good. Yeah, if you haven't listened to it. And I mean, I'm not a huge jazz aficionado, so I'm not like, oh, it's the best jazz ever. But as a guy who doesn't even listen to jazz, I still listen to that album. I'm like, this is great. This is great.
Yeah.
And I think because jazz can be so experimental, and those are the guys doing the add 11s and the crazy chords, and it's so experimental and so progressive that I think like jazz music is kind of on the forefront of like everything. You know,
Yeah.
what I
Especially
mean?
R&B. Like, because I sing R&B and I feel like it stems from jazz. You know what I mean? The whole genre.
Yeah. I mean, it's tricky because everything's interrelated.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? So, I mean, I guess maybe I can hone down even further, and I could say that actually I really love Japanese music,
Mm.
Wow.
particularly
Uh-huh.
like city pop,
Uh-huh.
and just like that whole 1970s, 1980s, just whatever the hell was happening in
Yeah.
Japan, like it's bonkers.
Huh.
And I think that's where my love of just jazz as a way of conceptualizing music
Mhm.
really comes from, right? Because jazz puts improvisation at the forefront, but it's also in my mind a really good intersection between just improvisational elements and like structure,
Mm.
really.
Mhm.
Because I mean, it's chord changes.
Mhm.
It's rooted in music theory.
Totally.
You know, like you have your 2-5-1s,
Mhm.
and you have the different ways that these artists like to subvert those rules.
Mhm.
You know, and just man, all the elements that go into that mix, from just these crazy cool jazz
Mhm.
chords and these like crazy licks, and then it like the synthesizers that kind of come in, and it's just like, whoa, what how did this happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did this happen? And I think what draws me specifically to the music and culture of Japan is also their mindset.
Mm.
Okay.
Like I've been to Japan once, and it's a very, very spiritual place.
Mm.
And going there is actually, that changed my life,
Mhm.
because it made me realize that, like, damn, here in America, we're so fast.
Wow.
Like, we're obsessed with like, go,
They're
go,
patient,
go,
huh?
go,
They're
go,
very
go, go,
patient
go.
with it.
Very patient, very orderly.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's like I feel like there's some kind of innate understanding that tomorrow it'll all happen again.
Mm.
Whereas, like, I feel like in America, the tendency is like, I need to cram everything into one day. How much can I accomplish in one day?
Mhm.
Or maybe that's just me. You
Yeah.
know, like I am someone that struggles with a lot of anxiety,
Okay.
honestly.
Mhm.
And I've had to create a number of coping strategies that had to help me
Yeah.
deal with this anxiety and like do the things that I want to do and accomplish the things that I need to accomplish. And I do feel like that's something that is common with a lot of people in our generation.
Sure.
Like just that high anxiety, even the isolation, the depression, and just feeling like you don't even freaking matter in this world. You know, like it's all you can be replaced at any moment.
Wow.
You know, like you're not an integral part of society. You're just another meat sack
Mhm,
walking
mhm.
around. You know, like, and Lord forbid you don't have your degree.
Yeah.
You know, no one's gonna hire you. You're not gonna make it. You know, past the paper shredder.
Mhm.
You know, your paper's not gonna be even looked at.
Yeah.
And that's how it can feel.
Totally.
But if I could tell one thing to my friends or anyone that's listening to this, it would be that you're irreplaceable.
Uh-huh.
There's literally no one like you, and no one that came before is going to be like you, and no one that comes after you is going to be like you. No one's going to be ever exactly the same as you.
Mhm.
No one's going to bring to the table your unique perspective and your way and mindset of doing things.
Mhm.
Literally, your way.
Mhm.
Going back to Japan,
Yeah.
you know, that word way,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm a very Zen dude,
Uh-huh.
and Zen is like the way,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
right? So everyone has their different way.
Mhm.
And I think in this world and in this life, we tend to get obsessed with like, what is the way?
Mhm. Mhm.
But there are many ways, and everyone has their unique way.
Mhm.
And I think that the world itself can stand to benefit from everyone fully realizing and expressing their way,
Mhm.
you know, and having something to show for it. Even if that thing to show for it is just simply mental clarity and peace.
Mhm.
You know, like you don't have to accomplish anything other than that.
Yeah. And I think that emphasis on what I would say is individuality and being proud of your individuality is something that should be totally adopted by music artists. Because so
it's a necessity.
Absolutely. And I think what a lot of artists will try to do is see what their favorite artists are doing or see what other people are doing. And that's cool because you have to have influences, right? You have to get inspiration from other artists, look up to the greats, look up at previous generations and stuff. But I think people lose sight of the fact that if you want to build this successful career in music, it's going to be because you are unique. It's going to be because people buy into you. So you can have the combination of all those influences inspire you and help you, produce certain types of results and influence you and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think each artist has their own set of unique values within them that they can express through music or whatever. And I think people forget about that because you're watching Beyonce, you're watching all these huge people and you're like, oh, I got to do it like them. But it's like, well, I think the access to artists now is so much easier than it's ever been. You can find a million new artists. So we're seeing every single day all these small niches, new niches of different genres. Like you can make a career off just having this really, really small, super niche fan base. But that may not happen if you just overlook it and say, oh, I got to be like this guy. I think every single artist has a small group of people that will truly love them. But a lot of artists don't realize that because they're trying to be like somebody else. Does that make sense?
And I think the unique individuality part only works if you're confident in it and you're like you go full force with it. Because if you're kind of like I'm different, but like you're kind of like stepping one step in, one step out with it, it's like no one's gonna really believe you. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're full force with that individuality you have and you make them and you be a leader about it, I think that's when it works. Our buddy told us a quote that I'll never forget, and he said, you know what I'm about to say, Nate James? He was like,
oh, yeah.
He's like, people are going to either love you or hate you no matter what, so might as well be 100% you. 100%, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes, even me, I'll be 89% me, and I'll have that insecurity or whatever, but I always remind myself, like, just be 100%, like 100% me. And if people hate me, that's just what's going to happen. Just focus on the people that love you, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was thinking about.
It's interesting that you say that too, because you're like, well, people are going to hate me no matter what.
Yeah.
But I feel like the converse is also true. People will love you no matter what.
Yeah.
And the deciding factor in life, I feel like, is like, am I easy to love? Or I'm a very difficult person to love? Because I feel like we all know people that are like, I love you, dude, but I got to keep my distance.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you're difficult to love like that, and I feel like that's where we have to heal ourselves and focus on our personal journey is like, am I being there for the people that love me? And I think the tragic thing is a lot of times people end up in that loop where they're like, I'm not lovable, like I'm a piece of shit, and that you've already lost. But I think the greatest piece of advice that I've ever gotten in this world is actually from one of my artists. His name is A Jizzle. Check him out on Apple Music, Spotify. But he told me, you already won. You already won. Like you walk into the place, everybody already fucks with you. You just got to make yourself accessible. Be chill, and just be.
Yeah.
Like you said, confidence, right? Maybe confidence is not like a set of actions you take, right? I had to learn this. It's not a set of actions you take. It's not a set of like, a posture that you take, or a set of words that you speak in, or a way to talk or a way not to talk. It's just being.
Yeah, I've realized I think confidence is like there's a stillness to it. It's not like you need to, like what you said, do something that's like you're trying too hard or you're like arrogant. You know what I'm saying? But the confidence is like a stillness. I realized too, like what you said. And I feel like that comes from just a deep understanding of like who you are. Like before you even walk into the room, you already know beforehand, and then you bring that with you. You know what I mean? Instead of like trying. Once I'm there, I need to do this and this and this, and to look this way. It's like like you're still. You're just being, like what you said.
Yeah, because we all have a role to play and a place that we innately fit into this world. I believe it really strongly. If we're functioning to our highest degree, the example I like to think of, the imagery I like to think of is a tree. A tree in the woods, right? A tree in the woods, it stands there and it blows in the wind, and it does what a tree does, right? There's no judgment, there's no anything with a tree until a person gets there and they look at the tree and they project their judgment onto it, right? So it's like, be like a tree. Do what you do. What other people think about you doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know, like, don't let it get in the way of you doing what you got to do and fulfilling your role and your purpose in this world, which I guarantee you there's some role and purpose.
And I think
for everyone,
there's a peace of mind too to focusing on things you can control. And a lot of times, like, what people think, you can't control that. No matter what you do, no matter how you act or feel or whatever it is, like, people are gonna think how they think, you know. So realizing, like, that's out of your control, and, like, really understanding that, I feel like that brings, like, a peace of mind, you know, just knowing, like, I'm just gonna do what I can, what's in my control, as long as I'm doing my best. And I know deep down, like, I'm doing what I can, and I'm feeling good about me personally, I was like within my circle. Then that's that peace of mind, you know.
Yeah. I saw this one graphic on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It was like a little yin yang. And then one side was do no harm, right? And the other side was take no shit.
For real.
Real. And it's everything in life is balance. You know, like you said, like, am I looking after myself? Am I functioning to my highest degree? You know, and what can I even control in the situation? And a lot of the times it's like, man, I gotta accept the chaos.
Yeah,
totally.
You know, I'm not really in control.
Yeah.
Like, even to a certain degree, I feel like even throwing those events in my backyard, it was like, I opened the gates and now all these people are here.
Yeah.
You know, and realizing that I'm not really in control of this, but I can influence the situation.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
And that's how I've been operating in my life. It's just like, I'm not really in control of this. You know, all these people are gathered into my life. All I can do is do the best I can, be good to other people.
Be a vessel.
Be a vessel.
Yeah.
You know?
That's dope.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So what is Hangout Records?
Oh man, Hangout Records it's my baby. You know, it's everything to me. It represents years and years of just a personal struggle. More than just like a struggle in music. It was a struggle for me to find my own identity and be comfortable with that identity. Like, and I know that's a struggle that a lot of people go through. And so, man, realizing that, like, okay, I'm not alone. Like, I'm also a part of, like, this world that's also going through this struggle. At first, it made me angry. It made me angry because I was like, you guys are all going through this, and you guys act like you're not going through it. And, like, I'm going through it, and you guys are, like, not giving me sympathy, you know. But then you calm down as you get older, and you realize, like, everyone's going through it, and, like, the solution isn't to be angry. The solution is acceptance. You know, like, okay, I got the cards I was dealt. They got the cards they were dealt. Like, why are you angry about it? Why do people have to care? You know? When the solution is plain, just don't, you know, you got to accept your situation and work from it. And it's about what you want. What do I want to be with my life? You know? And I feel like at the end of the day, the root of what a lot of people want is simple. It's like acceptance, it's love. It's like people that they're connected to, you know? And that's what I strive for, really. And Hangout Records is really just, it's the next step for me, you know? Before I was Castle Records. And Castle has that innate meaning of, like, I'm a castle. You know, it's like your walls are up. And that's how I would think about things. I'm like, I'm going to build my studio, and I'm gonna make it the best studio. I'm going to have the best artists. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have.
That's fire, though.
You know? And that got me a certain, you know, distance.
I got you.
You know? Because it's just kind of like you're building up your walls. You're building up your forces. And it's like, you know, you poise yourself for, like, you know, oh, we got heat. We about to take over LA. We about to invade. That's a fundamentally different mindset from where I'm at now. Because where I'm at now, hang out. It's just like, dude, come hang out. The music is the byproduct of the hanging out.
Okay.
You know, like, who are you as a person? Who are you as an artist? Like, what kind of music do you even like? Why do you like that music? What is it about it? Is it the imagery? Is it just the sound of it? You know, because it's crazy to think and conceptualize that not all music, like, it has its draw from the way that it sounds. You know, I feel like some music has that draw because of what it represents.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think about punk music,
Mm-hmm.
really, you know, or even those hip hop purists that, you know, they're like, oh, it's about this set of values, like, you know, the 5 pillars of hip hop. I don't know if you guys have heard about that concept. Man, growing up, my brother taught me about hip hop, and that's why I'm really in it.
Yeah.
You know, but he taught me that there were 5 pillars, if I can remember correctly. It was like MCing, DJing, graffiti, breakdancing. And was it 5 pillars or 4 pillars? I'm leaving something out, and I know someone's gonna be upset. I'm just gonna say sneakers.
Okay, that goes with it.
Yeah.
Or even basketball. You know, it's things that are interlinked with hip hop, and it's what it represents and for whom it represents, right? And I feel like as that genre evolved, it came to represent a whole different set of things, and it's different for every generation.
Yeah,
you know, and so that was one thing that was really difficult for me to accept and onboard as like an engineer producer. Like, bro, it's not even about the sound sometimes. It's about who this artist is. Because again, that's the mindset. You already won. You know, you won because you are you.
Okay.
And you are the one making the music. The people that are this person's fans, they're going to listen to it and they're going to enjoy it either way. You know? So there's a certain threshold of like, don't overstress it. Like, just enjoy the process of making the music. And be invested in the process and the moment, you know, be present.
And do you think that now with that, the adoption of that mindset, you make better records? Or, you know?
I would say so,
Okay.
you know, because I feel like my earlier work that I did before was rather stiff, you know, pretty formulaic, I would say. You know, I mean, we all have to go through a process of learning, right? But I would say maybe better is not the right term. More meaningful is the right term for that. Because I feel like when you craft music with that that love and attention to who are you, who is the artist, what do they represent, who are the people that like this artist. When you build upon that, it's a more meaningful work. I mean, go ahead. I was about to say, you can have like the best sounding record, quote unquote. You know, like you can get all the top musicians, you can put them in the best studio with the best engineer and the best producer, and like, you know, but what does that really mean though? You know,
I think the goal is like combining both, in my opinion. I think you need that meaning, but I mean, I think it depends on your goal. You know what I mean? Like, because people are really out here competitive, bro. Like, people are really out here that want to win, you know, and be out here. And I think the goal off of what you said is like to have that meaning and have that, put that love in it, and like, because that's what people are gonna feel. But I think it's always good to like really outdo yourself and get better and study and get better, and like, what I do this time that I can fix upon this time and continue to grow that way. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm all about like, you know, hanging out and chilling and like, you know, making good shit. But, you know, I think it depends on like the goal. If you're trying to get to a certain level, like you're gonna have to, you know, get competitive a little bit and like really try to outdo yourself and have that like winner's mindset. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think it's combining both, is my opinion. Yeah.
Right. So what I'm talking about here is this is the art. Now we talking business.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, because we all have to eat and sustain ourselves at the end of the day. And, you know, ideals don't pay the bills.
Yeah.
You know? So, like you said, it's a balance.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I always come back to that yin and yang. You know, there's definitely this and there's this.
Yeah.
That concept of non-duality, the space for all different ranges of experience, and it all combines into this beautiful whole that we as people can't possibly understand. Like, you know, I should say I came from a period in my life where I was completely just embracing the chaos.
Yeah.
You know, and now I'm embracing more of a structure.
Yeah.
You know, like this chaos landed me to studio. It was like you woke up one day and you're like $20,000 in debt, but you have a beautiful studio. You know, like waking up, man. Whew, that whole period of my life was wild.
Damn.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
That was just when coronavirus.
Oh,
hit.
last year. Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
You know, so the way I think about it, I was going about my normal everyday life. I was a student at Cypress College, you know, and that was a transitionary period in my life because I was just a really shy, kind of reserved, kind of bookish individual, really.
Got you.
And then 2020 happened, and I just went off the rails because I was like, man, I'm this is not it. Like being cooped up in my room,
Yeah.
And not able to leave the house for 24 hours in the day. And, at first I was like, this is a blessing. Finally I could be alone and I can just work on my music. I'm gonna make YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make Instagram videos. And when I was finally confronted with like, I now have all this time, it was like really bizarrely empty feeling.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I don't know, I was just conditioned for so long to just believe like, well, if only I had this, if only I had this, if only I had this, if only I had this. And that was how I was living my reality. And then all of a sudden, like, well, you're at your parents' house and you're looking around and you're like, actually I have a sizable amount of instruments I've collected over the years. Yeah. I have a decent computer. I certainly have more than a lot of people.
Hell yeah.
But you still feel empty. You still feel purposeless. Like, this is all here, but what does this even mean to me? Like, this means nothing because why? Because I was craving the other people in the equation, the connection, the community, because that's what I had came from. Like from Cyprus, I was like feeling like, oh, my life is changing. I'm getting this sense of purpose and direction because I'm talking to older people that have been through the industry, and they're telling me this is how it is, this is what to expect, and being around other like-minded individuals are just trying to find their way, young musicians. And then all of a sudden, now coronavirus, boom, in the blink of an eye, it's all taken away from you. And you're just here and you're just like, man, this kind of feels like a gilded cage, like, a golden cage. You're living in comfort. So what ended up happening was I was like, man, fuck this. I need to go out there. And a friend of a friend hit me up. And this friend of a friend was like, hey, let's record. Let's go to LA. And, like, I'm going to rent out a studio. Can you engineer? And that's what really started the journey.
Nice.
I hadn't even used Pro Tools before. But I showed up and like, 2 sessions later, I was like, okay, I got this. I know all the hotkeys. I can function. I can hang.
Oh, yeah.
Were you using any software before that?
Oh, FL Studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've been a FL Studio user since, I believe, 2005.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like when it first like came out or something, right? Like.
Yeah. I was just getting out of middle school. I was like in 8th grade.
Okay.
And one of my classmates had just handed me the CD. Like, well, first of all, he got hyped when he found out like I make music. Yeah. Because this guy was like, he was doing it the old school way with the MPC and like all these hardware synths. He was like, oh yeah, I got a Yamaha motif and I got, like flexing on me, like all this shit that he has. I'm like, dude, that's so cool. I wish I had that, because my dad would never buy me any of that. My dad is a very like, I would describe him as a very austere, very like conservative, very valued man where, he's very principled. He's like, you don't need that, it's that joke. Like,
Gotcha.
We already have one at home.
Yeah.
And then the keyboard at home.
Gotcha.
We got McDonald's at home. Yeah.
And then the Casio at home, like, like
I wasn't
bro,
it.
this is like it wasn't it. This is like 37 keys and my fingers are just too big for this now. This is a child's keyboard. And that's how it feels.
Got it.
But anyways, he was stoked on that and he handed me the CD. He was like, look, I'm gonna put you on, like, because I was telling him like, yeah, I started making music, and at that time it was Anvil Studio. It was it was the Wild West of the internet back in 2005. Like YouTube was just barely coming out, or I don't even know if it had came out in 2005. It was still kind of like, the software industry was not as standardized as it is now. Like there's, with so many smaller people and individuals and companies like just making random programs. And I found one. I was showing him like, hey, I made this with this program called Anvil Studio. You punch your notes, and he was like, no, dude, let me put you on. You got to try this. Boom. CD with FL Studio and like this library of samples that he collected over the years. And that was the spark. That was the start.
Oh yeah. So you started producing at that time?
Yeah. It was really, really shitty techno beats that I would upload to Newgrounds.
Yeah. Newgrounds, wow.
Yeah, the Newgrounds audio portal.
Yeah.
That was my shit.
Damn.
And I would just put it on there, and hopefully I was just hoping like somebody would comment on it and like, oh, maybe it'll blow up. Maybe this time I'll blow up and I can be like Paragon X9. Get placed in one of these flash animations. Oh, And I had one song that I made that almost made it onto Castle Crushers.
What's that?
If you're familiar with
Castle
that.
Crushers?
Is that a game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they ran a little contest on Newgrounds.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a bunch of Flash developers that got together and made that. And I think they were called, was it Behemoth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they ran a contest, and I was super stoked about that. But then my dad was like, "You're getting ripped off. I'm not letting you put this song here." So, you know?
Yeah. So you start using Pro Tools. You're engineering for your buddy in LA, right? At the studio.
Yeah.
This is a little bit later. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're engineering for your buddy, and then so have you used Pro Tools like since then?
Yeah, actually right now I'm studying now to get my certification.
Oh, nice. Nice.
You know, that's my next step
Yeah.
in my journey is I'm just trying to learn Pro Tools more thoroughly
Mm-hmm.
than just like, all right, I know how to record, I know how to set up some tracks, and but not really knowing how it kind of, the heart of the engine that powers Pro Tools.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to learn that program
Yeah.
inside and out, and just be the best possible engineer that I can be.
Nice.
Do you mix too?
Yeah, I mix.
Okay.
And that's also a learning process.
Yeah, it's a whole other
Taking-
animal.
Yeah, and there's just so much to it with music that the only thing you really can do is know the tools
Mhm.
and understand the techniques,
Mhm.
because everything in between, it's like, what does the artist want?
Mm.
I feel like as an engineer and a producer, you're always caught between what does the artist want and what is the executive decision that needs to be made. Whether this executive is coming from some kind of executive or some kind of manager that's like overseeing the process,
Mhm.
or if it's coming from the artist who functions as their own manager. You can't really, like, in my opinion, as a producer, I don't strive to like override what it is that they're trying to accomplish. I try to understand what it is they're trying to accomplish. Because, you might think that someone's trying to come in and, they want to do like punk music, but that's such a wide, umbrella, especially in these days.
Totally.
There's so many micro genres, right? So their understanding of punk might be like Green Day,
Yeah. Yeah.
or it could be Sex Pistols.
Mhm.
Like that's just too wide of an umbrella. But, if you already made up your mind as the producer, like you've already lost the battle there.
Yeah.
The artist who is your client and who pays your bills, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to leave feeling like, I did that.
Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate goal as a producer. It's not to like know the most things. It's not to like flex on them, like your production skill or whatever. It's just to do your job. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
What
know?
kind of artists are you working with right now?
So right now I'm working primarily with hip hop artists, and I've recently started to branch out more into bands, local bands, and it's really just a lot of people that are in college or have recently graduated from college. In terms of the bands, with rappers, a lot of people in LA that I've worked with, and it's crazy, like the culture clash, because it's like, okay, oh, there's these people from LA, and people from LA, like they move in a certain way,
Yeah.
and then you got all these like good kids from the OC, and they move in a certain way,
Yeah.
and it's just like, damn, I got people here that are rolling up to the studio and they're like strapped, backpacks of cash,
Yeah.
and like if you're not careful, they're gonna finesse you out of your money, and you got to be like, in a way, kind of like not phased.
Yeah.
But then you got these people over here and they're just like, yo, let's shroom,
Yeah.
and it's the intersection of the two worlds that's just, it's been a real journey.
Yeah.
I
I wanted to ask, so, what are, because we have some upcoming artists listening to this, and artists of all types and stuff. I want to talk about, for people who don't go into the studio with an engineer, for people who, like Ryan, for like the better part of his career, now he's starting to branch out and work with people, but like this guy's mixed and mastered, produced all his own stuff, whatever. For someone working with an engineer, going to Hangout Records or whatever recording studio they go to, what's kind of like, should they be at a certain level before that? Should they already have any idea of how mixing and production works? Should they go in ready to tell you, because like you said, it's your job what to do, or does it just depend on the artist? I
would say before an artist comes into the studio, they should know what it is they want.
Mhm.
You know, they should already feel empowered, you know, and even so you're not wasting time.
Yeah.
You know, like you could know nothing about how to do it, but you could come and be like, well, I like this record. I like the way the vocals sound here. This is the style I'm going for, the aesthetic that I'm going for, and give it to the engineer or the producer or what have you. And they can actually make real informed decisions, and they can use their expertise to dial in. And then at that point, all you really have to do is be like, yes or no. And it's also about fostering that trust and really gelling with your producer and your engineer, right? So, I mean, me, myself, personally, I feel like we're in a revolution in the music industry right now. Like, you know, what you do with recording and engineering and mixing yourself, I feel like that's going to be standard.
Really?
Like, yeah, I feel like the need for big studios is going to, you know, in the way that demand is going to shrink. You know, and I firmly believe that like studios, I don't know how much longer they can really sustain themselves. You know, even me as a studio, you know, because of the democratization that's happening within music. Like you have people now that are like, you know, they barely turned 20 and they're like running around and producing like hit records for like artists like Lil Tecca.
Yeah.
You know, and you could see when you look up what they're doing, it's just their little MacBook and the Scarlett.
Yeah.
And
you know,
FL.
and FL.
Yeah.
You know, or Ableton or what have you. Like these are the tools of the people.
Yeah.
You know, used to be that the record industry was tightly like, you know, well, you had to know an engineer and you had to know a producer. Like you had to know someone that at the bare minimum could work the workstation.
There was gatekeepers.
Yeah. And the gatekeeping was just the level of knowledge that you needed.
Yeah.
You know, and the cost of the equipment.
Yeah.
You know, like I firmly believe that anyone can learn anything that they put their mind to, but not everyone can afford to drop like 10 racks on like a keyboard and like Pro Tools and all that stuff back in 2005 when I first got started.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, it's just like, damn, we're in a very special time with music where it's just like, I feel like anyone can really make it. Like you said, like we could all eat. We could all find our fan base that's like, we're specific to them, you know?
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thought because I feel like for a long time, it's kind of like what's fed to you is like you said, you have to appeal. You have to, you know, you have to do this in one certain kind of way. And this will appeal to this target demographic, but it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
Because
I think one thing I keep in mind too is like, because I love what you said too about how it's a cool time right now, how anybody can do it, right? I think one thing I also keep in mind, and this is like the competitive side of me too, I have no excuse now. That's the thing, like I have no excuse. So if I'm screwing up, it's on me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to rely on the 10 racks for studio equipment or like knowing the right person to put out a record. If I didn't do it, that's because I didn't, and I had the tools, but I just didn't put in the time and the work. So I think that's the other side of it is like, you know, there's no excuse now. And the good thing, well, it's good that anybody can do it, but the bad thing is anybody can do it. So it's like it's very like saturated, you know. So I'm one to, you know, think of the positive, but also not the negative, but like the reality of it too, right? Like you know, so I always balance is what you said, right? I definitely like to balance both. So that definitely pushes me harder, you know.
Yeah, because there's more people doing music than ever.
Yeah.
And while anyone could make it, it requires a greater effort to make it. Like you can't like, okay, I'm gonna get really good and then I'm just gonna blow all these local musicians out the water and I'm gonna take that spot and become the session musician. Like you can, but the floor to that just got this much higher. I feel like because it's so much more accessible.
Yeah.
Like as time has went on, the availability of music, right? So even going back into, let's say, you know, when music was being formalized, right? From I'm gonna say the start of like music theory, right? You know, the Renaissance, right? We're coming from monks, and like it was just very gatekeepy in general. Like not everybody was even like, you know, you had the music of the common folks, but it's just like, where the hell are you gonna get a lute from if you're like a peasant working a field? Like there's just a whole certain class of people, and like that lute was probably handed to you by your father's 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 father. Like you're gonna be a lute now. You're gonna be a musician now.
Yeah.
You know, like hope you enjoy your life. You know, you're gonna be a bard. That's the term. You're gonna be a bard. And then like even going further than that, like, you know, like buying a violin or a cello or buying a piano or a harpsichord, like who could really afford that?
Yeah.
It was only a certain small slice of the population. But then as you go forward throughout music history, it democratizes because then you had the advent of so many years of all this. Then you had like the electric guitar come out, you know, and the fact that that became more accessible to people. Like I could just buy an electric guitar. And even back in those days, that was still, you know, like that was an investment to be made. You know, people would nickel and dime themselves just to buy that guitar, you know. But then we go forward and now it's just like guitars became cheaper. You know, as the technology of production became better and more precise, you can have a good quality guitar for not that much money, really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you could still invest and get like a craftsman piece or like a vintage piece, and like that's you know very special. You know, it's definitely an instrument. You know, but in a lot of ways, I look at instruments now and I'm like, that's a tool.
Yeah,
it's like you can go to Home Depot and you can buy a hammer.
Yeah,
you know, and that's the same hammer that so many other people have. But what are you going to do with the hammer? And like you said, like it's tough. There's a lot of people.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people, but I feel like what it really takes is just that tenacity and that grit to like rise every day and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to practice. You know, I'm going to make some music, you know, like setting a routine for yourself, setting that structure. Like that's vital.
This is what I want to talk about. Yeah. This is the type of shit right here.
Right,
it's that grit. It's that tenacity. You know what I'm saying? Which, you know, I think it's hard because music is such a fun, you know, enjoyable thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if you're born with like talent or you have like parents who kind of raise you with music, like it's such a cool blessing, you know. But then it's up to you what you do with that. You know what I mean? Like it's like what's that saying? It's like talent beats hard work when hard work. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't show up or doesn't work hard. Yeah, there you go. Sorry. Yeah.
Say it one more time.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
Yes. So, this is the type of shit like we like to talk about on the podcast too. That mindset, like that heavy competitive.
Because we're very business oriented when it comes to music, right? And so, because the way that we want to make our careers in music is with that low barrier to entry and that super high floor to achieve anything throughout all the saturation. Like me and Ryan are very dedicated to that, and that's what we want to do. And so, I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and so. I think like the biggest thing, you know, when it comes, and that's why I asked you, like, what should artists be doing when it comes to, you know, prior to working with an engineer? How should they set themselves up? What should they do? Whatever. And I think something you just said is like build a schedule. You know, like if you want something that bad or whatever, I think you need to take a part of your life and say, okay, how can I structure this methodically, and how can I maximize my time to produce this result that I want? And that can be. And even talking about like how you said the music should be meaningful. You know, you can even, and as an artist and a creative, this is crucial. You should set aside time and say, okay, I practiced my vocals today. I talked with my manager. I did this. I did all this hardcore competitive stuff. Can I sit down for 45 minutes and study myself and think about how to make my music more meaningful? So there's so many different facets of it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Especially as a creative, like me, as the manager, I'm just really focused on like strategy, ROI, marketing, all that stuff. But Ryan, as the artist, he has to think about a little bit of that, plus all of the other stuff in terms of like meaningfulness, purposefulness. So it's extremely difficult.
Right. It's difficult until you get it to work for you, right? Because all that meaningfulness and all that stuff, it has its place that fits inside of this, and all the structure and all that, you know, like that grit and like I'm gonna be consistent, the consistency that supports this other half of everything. Because like, how are you going to have enough time to like, you know, explore music really and like get to know other people and really get to dive deep if you haven't set this up for yourself? Like, you're not in control. You're really not. Like, you think you're in control because, well, I wake up and I get to do whatever I want, but you're not. Because you're here, like, just indexing what you have no system. So you're going to index everything in your head. And then, like, you're going to forget things, or you can't even realize how much you can do in one day, really.
I think what you just said is, like, the main point. Like you gotta have that system. Like the system really, you know, something we do is like a power list. It's like 5 critical tasks a day. You know what I'm saying? And you get a win or L at the end of the day if you do all the tasks. At least I still do that. But it's been life changing for me because I feel like before I had a system, I was kind of just flying with the wind, and you don't really keep track of time well because you're like, I'll put it up till tomorrow, and you keep saying that, and it still feels like you're still getting it, like working hard, but next thing you know, 2 months go by and you didn't really do much. You know what I'm saying? But if you had that system of like, I did 5 things a day, now those 2 months was at 60 days times 5. Now you did like 300 tasks. Whereas before you were just kind of like flying with the wind, you like unable to keep track of time, you know? So I think that system is like the main shit right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So getting more into like the specifics of like the system that I use.
Okay.
Right. I have a calendar and I have index cards.
Okay.
This is how I organize things in my life, right? And of course I have my phone, or if I can, I have a notebook with me. Right. And as soon as something comes in, I have to write it down somewhere. I have to write it down either on my phone or on my notebook. Like this is a piece of information that has come into my knowledge, right? Like, hey, can I book a session for such and such time? Right. I have to write that down.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get home, I take everything that I wrote down and I put them on index cards. And then I put them on a corkboard.
Nice.
You know, so I can visually see like, okay, what's on my plate. You know,
That's interesting.
Because I'm someone that like, I have a very high ambition, and I always convince myself I can do a lot more than I could do in one day, like Superman type syndrome. Where it's like, yeah, I'll take you. Yeah, we can all have 2-hour sessions, you know, like, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You know, because you've given all this to them, and it's just like, what time is there for me? And could I even realistically put that and accomplish that in a day? Right. And for me, what works best is that visual, like, bro, your fucking corkboard that has too much shit on it. Yeah. You know, like I need to be able to see some cork.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when I first started that system, like I put all my index cards and I realized like this isn't actually a lot of stuff. You know, like I could actually segment this out and put this on a calendar and deal with it.
Yeah.
Instead of just being endlessly anxious and worried. Like I have all this stuff in the back of my head. Yeah. Let's take all this stuff from the back of your head, put it in front of you.
Yeah. That's dope.
You know? And that's the only way you're ever going to be able to deal with it. You know, like a quest tracker, really.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you guys play RPGs. No. Well, I'm a big Skyrim fan.
Okay.
You know, and I've always wanted that system where it's just like, you know, it'd be so great if like every time somebody gives you a task, it just shows up on the screen. New quest. Go do this, and then you have your little checkpoints under it.
Yeah.
But that's how my mind conceptualizes it. And like, just like in the RPG, you can only really do one quest at a time because you're going to go to this side of the map and you're going to have to deal with this. And then like, are you really going to be able to deal with any of this?
Yeah.
And in a video game, there's no time limit. You know, you could go here and do this and like have all these open quests on this end of the map because it's a game. But in real life, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You have to meet the deadlines. You have to meet the targets. You have to meet the expectations that are expected of you. While at the same time, managing to have enough time for you to go explore the avenues you want to explore fully, you know, and not just dip your feet in like, okay, I've given enough time for myself to be at such and such a venue for only an hour. Like, but what are you going to do in only an hour?
See, like for me, like I make what you said, the exploring, like the time for exploring, I make that a task. You know what I'm saying? Like as another task in the thing. So that way, like I'm not separating out like time for me and then time for whoever, whatever. Like I make that one of the things, the missions, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that's how you align yourself better to like all the things you want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, is this something you do too?
I tend to think of it as kind of like I'm on the clock and off the clock.
Okay.
That's my way of conceptualizing.
Okay.
Because I still get my own enjoyment out of music. And, you know, like one of the things that I learned again from the Zen that I was really interested in was just this concept that like it shouldn't be work. You know, like meditation shouldn't be like I'm sitting down doing work. It just is, and it's its own enjoyment. You know, and that's how I feel about music. Like there's time. Like yes, let me go ahead and practice. Let me get this in, but leave space for you to just enjoy. Like you're off the clock. and keep that relationship alive with music, that I actually enjoy this shit.
Mhm.
And that's how I feel about it. You know, like I go to bed and I listen to music,
Mhm.
not to study, not to do anything else, but just it relaxes me.
Mhm.
It calms me, and it's just like, you know, oh, these are songs I like. I'm familiar with them, and just like this is me, you know,
Yeah.
and this is no one else. This is me. This is my playlist,
Mhm.
you know. And I even listen to my artists too before I go to sleep too, because I'm just like, man, good memories,
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
you know. And I feel like it's just the moment you let the chaos and the rigors of life kind of X that out for you, like, okay, you're going, but you've become somewhat of an automaton, like a robot. Like you've kind of lost your soul in a way,
Mhm.
you know? And so that to me is what I use my system for, is like I'm gonna defend this aspect of my life. It's like here is me. This is my land. This is sacred.
Mhm.
All this other stuff, that's the world.
Mm.
But as soon as it crosses this fence, that's a problem.
Mhm.
You know, like you're only gonna cross this fence if you're intended to be here. You're supposed to be here, you know. And if I'm just letting all kind of passerbys just enter into my peace and my tranquility, you know, then that's not a good thing,
Wow.
Got you.
you know. And that's how I feel about like the outside world. Like defend your peace,
Mhm.
you know, defend your peace of mind, because when you're in a good state of mind, your good mental health, you can get more efficiency
Mm.
out of your
Mhm.
systems,
Mhm.
you know. So that's the reason why I choose not to like make it a task, because it's not a task.
Got it. Okay.
It's just an off the clock,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I explore because that's what I like to do naturally.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one last thing before we close it out real quick. Hangout Records Artist Showcase, right?
Mhm.
So that's something that you've done for what, 3 weeks, or you did for 3 weeks in a row?
Truth be told, I've done it twice now,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right? And it was twice in what was that, August, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, it was July going into August.
Yeah.
Because July is when I had finished construction,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, shit, I got a studio,
Yeah.
and where are the clients?
Yeah.
You know?
for sure.
I've shelled out $20,000. I was like, the client should come rolling in. Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
place is fucking dope.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, well, duh, nobody knows about you.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You know, you thought that the people you're working with already, your friends, are going to spread the word, but it's like, it doesn't work that way, because these people that you all know, they're not necessarily a part of the right community
Mm.
that can fully harness your business.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I was like, well, no better way to bring people together than throw a show,
Yeah.
because that's
totally.
what I know,
Yeah.
Totally.
you know. And my parents were super stoked on it. Like
Yeah.
I said, my dad is a musician.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so, you know, he was super proud of it. You know, he was filming and showing my
Yeah, yeah,
relatives in the Philippines.
That's awesome.
And you know, to me, I was viewing it as a way to like, okay, I need to drum up business, you know. But then I quickly hit a wall, because I'm like, dude, this is my backyard.
Yeah.
You know, like you throw the show like a second time, and then all of a sudden that's when the neighbors are like, bro,
Yeah.
these people can't park.
Yeah.
You know, like they're taking up my space. You guys are playing up until like 3:00 in the morning. No.
Mhm.
You guys have a Filipino food over there at those parties or what?
Nah.
Oh
you know,
shit,
like-
that's my favorite. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, they got
Ah.
a huge community thing of pancet.
yeah,
just
and
grab it.
lumpia and stuff.
Oh, you know, yeah, always at the Filipino shows though. Like
Yeah.
it would always have it like free for the
You-
performers.
I
gotta
had
perform.
I was in a band.
Yeah.
I was in a band with well, I played drums in bands growing up and stuff, and I was in a band with two Filipino brothers, and so we played a lot of like Filipino venues like
Yeah.
Noy Pits, Josephine's, like all these like Filipino based places, and even like the family parties we would go to. They had this Filipino food everywhere, and so like I loved that stuff. And they had the lechon, the pig. Or whatever. They always made me eat the ass, but it's all good. Like the butt. But it was good times though. Yeah, it's great food.
Man, you're just reminding me of my childhood.
Okay.
Wow.
'Cause that's exactly how I grew up. Actually, my aunt used to own Josephine's.
Okay, that's what's up.
My aunt is Josephine,
Oh yeah? No
Yeah.
shit. Okay.
and it used to be called Pinoy Bistro.
Okay.
And then it rebranded,
Mhm.
and like they sold it to a new owner.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. So yeah, that Filipino community, like that like, oh, you know, play, but here, eat. You guys eat.
Yeah.
You guys eat. You know,
Yep.
that's close to home. You're making me hungry.
That's good stuff.
That's
though.
awesome, man. Well, hey, bro,
No.
we really appreciate you being on here, man. Where can people find you? Where can people book you for a session? Find out more about Hangout Records and everything you do.
You can follow me on Instagram at sabi.sensei. 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 Sabi Sensei. And you can also follow me on Instagram. the Hangout Records page, which is at Hangout Records 562. And those 2 pages are where I conduct all of my business, and you can hit me up anytime.
Yeah.
And we can get together and just talk music, chop it up, hang out.
There you go.
That's what's
There
up,
you go.
man.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. This is Inside the RV. Peace out.
What's in your mind for you and for I? I'm trying to decide from the look in your eyes, yeah, yeah. I mean besides, but your feelings inside you. I'm messing up my mind and